You're about to hear a short synopsis of the film Wrecking Machine. Enjoy watching. Marker makes his first professional mixed martial arts appearance. He faces a hulking man weighing over 150 kilograms. A former wrestler, Mark immediately goes to the ground, knocking his opponent down and beating him with knees. His first victory was followed by more. And that same evening, having defeated a ton of opponents, Mark won the championship belt. At home, Mark got mad at his girlfriend, Dawn, because she made his protein shake incorrectly. She used the wrong milk and didn't add enough bananas. And she's petting the cat on the couch, and it's very expensive. But Dawn still heard his words of gratitude.
No, thank you. Even though you got the wrong milk, you didn't know it.
The girl supports Mark in everything and in everything, including at the gym. Mark is seriously addicted to the opioids his doctor prescribes for him. They were supposed to help the fighter cope with the pain after fights, but, as often happens, the patient began abusing substances. Kerr arrived in Japan to compete in the Pride Championship. For some reason, he was paid much less this time, and the organization no longer signs contracts. Mark Coleman also arrived. This legendary fighter is both a friend and an adversary, and Kerr's first coach. Before the fight, he bought several souvenirs for Dawn. Today, he will face a top puncher, Ukrainian Igor Vovchancheny. Kerr admitted to a journalist that he has never lost in his career and has no idea what he would do if he did. The rules were amended before the fight. Biting, eye pokes, headbutts, and knees on the ground are now prohibited. Vovchancheny asked through a translator whether it was permissible to hit an opponent face up in this way, and received a positive response. Dawn also flew to Japan. The girl wanted to surprise her boyfriend, but both the trainer and he were displeased.
You high? What's wrong with you? That strange look. That's it.
Mark pulled away from the girl. He wanted to focus on the fight. And he didn't care that Dawn had flown halfway around him. It was time to enter the ring. Tonight, the fighter and the pure puncher would face off. A crucial matchup.
Judging by the circumstances, Mark should win the fight.
Mark had never faced such a dangerous opponent as Igor Vovchanchyn. The fighters entered the ring and greeted each other. After taking a punch in the face, Mark picked up his opponent and threw him to the mat, but he couldn't get his hands on him. Unlike Igor, who landed a couple of punches on the feet, another attempt at ground combat ended in failure for Mark. Vovchan began crushing his skull with powerful knees to the head. Mark was knocked out. The man stood up and started to complain, saying that such blows were prohibited by the rules. Upset, Kerr immediately left the arena and found the organizer. Bad referee, Vovchanchyn. Boom to the head. The referee didn't stop it. A foul to the head. And he didn't give it. Boom.
Yes.
I'll talk to him twice. The Japanese promised to look into it. It seems this event broke Mark. Now he can't find a peace. The man returned to the locker room and burst into tears. Coleman consoles his friend. At least he wasn't injured. He'll recover in a couple of weeks.
Igor is a real beast. Yes, exactly. You can't take that away.
Yes. Downye tries to console Mark. The girl told Coleman that he looked strange and didn't take the fight seriously. For the past few weeks, Mark has been drinking and partying.
And it seems he never thought he could lose. And I didn't believe it either.
The organizer told Kerr that the fight would be counted as a no decision. So, on paper, Mark didn't lose. The man was still upset and started lashing out at Dawn, saying she didn't understand how important all of this was to him. Vovchanchyn came over to support his colleague. After the fight, he needed 4 stitches in his eyebrow. And his knee was a little sore. He'd hit Mark so hard in the head. He asked Dawn to take a picture of them. She agreed, tears in her eyes. Getting hold of opioids in Japan isn't easy. He can't get them without a prescription. The man was offered a weaker equivalent.
Thanks.
Would you like some? No, they're handing them out to everyone.
Mark continues to act rather aloof. The first thing Kerr did in the US was get himself some pills. He asked the doctor to prescribe him something stronger. Mark even woke up early to take them. Now he's sitting in front of the TV like a zombie. Dawn is upset, because Mark promised to quit.
You don't even hide them anymore. That crap of yours is scattered all over the bathroom.
So what? Dawn doesn't recognize Mark anymore, but he lost. So what? It's time to accept it. These words struck Kerr right in the heart. He put the plate on the table, smashed the door to pieces, and went to the kitchen to eat.
Respect me like a man.
I love you, my big, strong man.
One day, Dawn called Coleman. She was hysterical. Mark had fallen to the floor and wasn't moving. It looked like he'd overdosed. Coleman promised to fly out on the next flight and talk to his friend. Kerr was in the hospital and looked really bad. He was embarrassed to talk about his problem. Dawn couldn't wake him up then. The paramedics arrived. They couldn't wake Mark either. The big guy woke up in the hospital.
Listen, tie it up already, please. But it's okay.
Coleman hugged his friend, and he admitted that he didn't want to die. Well, then we need to act right now. Returning home, Kerr collected all the syringes and ampules to throw them in the trash. Then Mark went to rehab. Coleman flew to Japan without his friend. The veteran admitted that he still fights to support his family. After all, it's a good way to earn money. Few believe in Coleman anymore, but he noticed his first opponent at Pride 8 in his friend's style. Kerb left the clinic stronger and more energetic. The man finally went for a walk around the house, as she had long asked him to. However, he refused to get on the rides. This guy has a very weak stomach. The children's carousel was another matter. The demolition derby didn't please Mark either. After all, he is a wrecking machine. A crowd of 40,000 should admire him. Kerr is bored at home and takes it out on Dawn. Now she's not caring for the cactus properly. Mark carefully cut off the baby cactus, and she complimented him on how he would be a wonderful father. But Kerr lost his temper again. He claims Dawn is forcing him, and he doesn't have time for the kids right now. Besides, he does everything around the house himself.
Seriously, the pool is covered in leaves.
Are you kidding me, Mark? They attacked him this morning. Dawn
Tells her friend that Mark has changed a lot. When he was using, he was gentle and affectionate, dependent on her, but now he's become rude and clingy. This morning, Dawn took 4 aspirin with Badoon. Kerr thinks she's making fun of him. He only got sober 3 weeks ago. He immediately called his coach to complain, because Dawn's behavior is having a negative impact on him.
I wish you and Jeff a happy life. Did
You hear that? Dawn ran away, breaking Mark's gift and leaving him alone. To get back in shape, the man came to train at Baz Rutan's gym. The organizers told him to develop his striking technique because no one needs wrestling. Everyone wants to see knockouts. During his very first training session, the bald specialist drove Mark to the brink of exhaustion. However, during the second, Ba developed a severe tendon pain. The excruciating pain would continue for another hour and a half. Mark rummaged through his old supplies and found a painkiller. After the injection, the pain was gone within 5 seconds. However, Ba admitted he felt like a vegetable. Kerr also threw these ampules in the trash. He was determined to get back into shape, and nothing should hinder him. Mark focused on training to prove to the organization that he could still show his class in mixed martial arts. Thanks to his persistence, he qualified for the Pride 2000 Grand Prix. Kerr will face local star Ensign Inoue. The friends will compete together again. Mark remembered the meaning of fame and the love of the crowd. Igor Vovchanchin stood in the ring next to him and Coleman. Coleman entered the fight first. He defeated the Japanese via submission and secured a spot in the tournament finals. Vovchanchin also easily dispatched his opponent. Finally, it was time for Kerr to face the Japanese jiu-jitsu fighter. Everyone wondered if Mark had lost his fire after all the troubles. The fighter proved his class with his actions. Anson quickly found himself under Mark, who brutally kneed him in the ribs. The friends will compete together for a $200,000 check. They've never fought each other before, but for that kind of money, they'll kick anyone's ass. Mark's relationship with Dawn has improved. She fixed that broken bowl. However, Boss suspects that Dawn might be a bad influence on Mark. He didn't want to let his students spend a whole week with that woman. Mark got rid of his curls and went bald, just like Doobie the Rock Johnson. Today, both Ba and Coleman called them at home. They don't want Mark to take Dawn with him to Japan, saying she'll distract the fighter. This causes the girl to throw a fit. Look me in the eye and tell me you hate me. That's all.
What for? I won't say it.
Dawn asks Mark to share with her, to talk about training. He thinks she's sticking her nose where it doesn't belong. It all escalates into a serious fight. Dawn is furious about the stupid fights and Mark's equally stupid friends. He hates her for her laziness. And the late-night parties until 4 a.m. Mark is tired. He asked Dawn to cancel the planned party. And she really wanted to have fun.
Dawn, go to your room, pack your bag and get out.
Suddenly, Dawn pulled out a gun, but Mark managed to take it away before she could hurt herself. Then she locked herself in the bathroom. The big guy broke down the door, grabbed Dawn, and hugged her tightly. Afterwards, the police arrived and took the girl away. She needs to be examined by a doctor. Overall, Mark wasn't in a good mood before the important tournament. If he and Coleman win their fights, they'll have to face each other in the ring. The older man will fight first. The fight wasn't easy. The fighters clinched a lot, but ultimately, the Japanese simply fought out the remainder of the bout. The judges unanimously awarded the victory to Coleman. It was time for Kerr to face his Japanese opponent. Kazuyuki Fujita is a very serious opponent. Mark started the fight confidently. He knocked the blonde fighter to the mat several times, but the tenacious Japanese fighter constantly dodged his devastating blows. Once, he kneed Mark in the head on the ground, which, as we remember, is a violation. The fight dragged on, and Kerr became exhausted. He literally froze in place and began taking one blow after another. Ultimately, Fujita defeated the American and advanced. Baz Rutten asked Mark to get up and escorted him to the doctor to have his wound stitched up.
I couldn't move, like I was dead.
Coleman came to support his friend. It turned out Fujita had also dropped out with a knee injury, so Coleman was immediately sent to the final round. A gift from Mark. There he would face Igor Vovachankny. Will he be able to avenge his friend? Igor started confidently, but eventually found himself in that same face-up position on mat, and Coleman used his knees. Vovachankny had no choice but to submit, meaning Mark Coleman became the Pride 2000 Grand Prix champion. Meanwhile, Kerr was getting stitches for a cut chin. The tens of thousands of people applauded him, and he didn't win the championship belt and $200,000. But the fighter is still happy for his friend. We flash forward to 2025, where we see a 50-year-old Marker shopping at a supermarket. Mark and Dunn got married 10 days after that defeat. They were married for 6 years and had a son. Marker retired in 2009. See you later. He